Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's second video doing USA forecast for today's second video. So as always on a Wednesday, we have a look at the weather next 10 to 14 days in detail for the United States. We'll be able to extend out beyond that with the CFS for the next 4 weeks as well. So I shall get on with that for you in a second. Just say that the first video release day was our 7 AM forecast, and we've also got a 10 to 14 day coming up for the UK and for Ireland and Northern Europe. That will include all of red features, of course. Please like, share, subscribe on all our videos. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Right, so we're going to begin in the tropical Atlantic then. So things are beginning to liven up a little bit after a lull over the past 2 or 3 weeks. So we've got a disturbance area just here, this yellow X over there. That is disturbance 1 with a 20% chance of cyclone formation in the next 48 hours and a 30% chance in the next 5 days. They're saying a tropical wave located a few hundred miles southwest of Cape Verde Islands is producing showers and thunderstorms just to the west of its axis. Some gradual development is possible over the next several days while the system moves generally westwards across the tropical Atlantic at near 20 miles per hour. So at the moment, that's nothing to worry about, but it needs to be kept an eye on. We've also got Tropical Storm Fred just here. So this is giving maximum sustained winds of 40 miles per hour with a minimum central pressure of 1,009 millibars, and Fred is moving west-northwestwards at 16 miles per hour. If we click on Fred and go here, you can see what the National Hurricane Center is forecasting Fred to do. So at the moment, Tropical Storm Fred is just there, heading into the Dominican Republic and Haiti. As it moves over land, Fred will go down to a tropical depression, but then off the coast of Cuba, the northern coast of Cuba, Fred will power back up to a tropical storm and head towards Florida through the second half of this week. So by the weekend, Tropical Storm Fred will be moving on to the southern tip of the Florida Panhandle, and then looks like it's going to give a glancing blow to like the western side of the Florida Panhandle, moving into the Gulf of Mexico and possibly heading up towards Alabama. Still forecast to be a tropical storm by the early part of next week, so making landfall on this Gulf Coast, somewhere close to Alabama, perhaps, or Georgia. Now, of course, these are just forecast projections, so it is possible that Fred might sort of power up into a hurricane. We can't really say for certain. I will think the most likely, if Fred was going to become a hurricane, most likely time for that to happen would be like here, when Fred gets into the Gulf of Mexico. But we should wait and see, you know, about that. But it definitely looks like Fred is going to give a bit of a blow to these southeastern parts of the United States over the weekend and into the early part of next week. So I think the National Hurricane Center will be keeping a very close eye on that in the coming days. This is the latest wind flow map from earthnullschool.net. So this is showing like the tropical Atlantic and also Caribbean, Gulf of Mexico, those sort of areas. So let's just pull this up a little bit, and you'll be able to see that the current position of this storm is just here. And, of course, the forecast is to do something like that with Fred over the next few days. So, yeah, we'll keep a close eye on it. You can see also that in the Pacific, very active over there. We've got 2 major storms going on in the Pacific. That's one of the reasons why we have had a quieter interlude in the Atlantic. If the Pacific, you know, tropical Pacific is very lively, then it tends to be the case that the Atlantic will be relatively quiet, and vice versa. And so if the Pacific quiets down, then the Atlantic will tend to liven up. At the moment, over the past few weeks, we've been through quite an active period in the tropical Pacific, which means that tropical Atlantic has been a little bit quieter. That could be coming to an end, though. It had something very similar at this point last year, I think, where we went for a few weeks of quieter weather in the Atlantic while the Pacific was very active, and then the Pacific sort of shut down and the Atlantic really got going. And I've got a feeling something similar is probably happening this year. So by the time we get through to the end of August and September, I would suspect we're still going to be in for it, because fundamentally everything still looks quite primed for another big hurricane season, I think. So we'll wait and see how things develop. But anyway, at the moment, the immediate concern, of course, is on Tropical Storm Fred. So this is how the latest GFS is forecasting in terms of mean sea level pressure anomalies for the next couple of weeks over tropical Atlantic. So just so you know where everything is. So this is like the east coast of America just here. That's Florida there. Gulf of Mexico through there. Caribbean through here. This is the tropical Atlantic, of course. And then this is the coast of Africa just here. Right, let's run through, see what the GFS forecasting to happen. So, of course, the immediate concern is going to be with Fred. That is the position of Tropical Storm Fred by the weekend, somewhere off that western coast of Florida. There's another area of low pressure developing just there, by the way, around the Leeward Islands. So that could become... So that's probably the disturbance area, disturbance 1 that we've got at the moment. That might develop into something. We'll have to wait and see. So into the early part of next week, this is Monday. You can see Fred then is moving onto, in line with the projection from the National Hurricane Center, moving onto that Gulf Coast of southeastern part of America. Same time, there's another disturbance area forming there over in the eastern part of the tropical Atlantic Ocean. That first disturbance area is around there as well, I think. GFS not developing that into too much, but yeah, needs to be kept an eye on. So by Tuesday next week, you can see we've got 3 areas of interest. That's Fred, of course, moving inland into the southeast part of the United States. That's the disturbance area there. Might be a tropical storm by that point, and then this is that next one over in the eastern part of the tropical Atlantic. Moving further on, we see that Fred sort of dissipates as he moves into becomes sort of stuck, really stalled over sort of Georgia, southeastern parts of the states. Those other disturbance areas look like they're beginning to fade a little bit through the early part of next week. And then Fred sort of re-emerges off the Carolina coast just there by the end of next week. So that low pressure area is still Fred, re-emerged off the Atlantic coast of the United States, and possibly starting to power up once again. You can see that by that point Fred is becoming quite a significant area of low pressure around here in the Atlantic Ocean. At the same time, pressure's generally falling through the Gulf of Mexico, but nothing particularly popping off. There is some sort of storm there, possibly through southern parts of like South America. And then we move on towards the very end of the GFS run, and nothing else seems to develop by that point. But of course, very long way out that, and got like 3 areas of interest by the early part of next week that will need to be kept a close eye on. These are just forecasts from the GFS, so I suspect we are moving into a more active period now in the tropical Atlantic and in the Gulf. So we should wait in Caribbean, so we should wait and see where things go. Now, these are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for Miami in Florida, of course. So the red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Miami. You can see that the upper air temperatures are basically static over the next couple of weeks. Temperatures don't tend to vary all that much in that part of America around Florida, but temperature tends to stay quite consistent. And of course, it's consistently hot throughout most of the year. But much more dramatic is the precipitation spikes, of course. So the next couple of days, relatively dry, few thunderstorms, not much happening. But into weekend, the open part of next week, look how the precipitation spikes just lift up. There are several ensemble members with those precipitation spikes, but are going off the chart. That's the kind of thing they get in Florida when they get these hurricanes and tropical storms pushing through. So extreme amounts of rain to come with this system. Of course, the exact track of it is still to be determined. It might finish up, giving Florida just a glancing blow. So we need to wait and see about that. But certainly, if this does get to Florida, then it will give some exceptional rainfall, of course, and that will be the case if it gets onto the Gulf Coast of the states as well. And after that, looking pretty wet, really. So there could be more disturbance areas being predicted here. Certainly more thunderstorms, definitely, as we get rid of Fred, but to go on into the second half of August. Does look like we're going to be in for a bit of a deluge for Miami and like that southeastern corner of America in the next few days. Going further northwards to Chicago, these are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles there in the Midwest. So nowhere near as dramatic for precipitation. The red line is a 30-year upper air temperature average for Chicago. We're starting off very hot at the moment in the Midwest. We are going to see a cool down taking place after some thunderstorms in the next 2 or 3 days. Into the third week of August, we possibly see things warming up after a drier, cooler interlude. Things possibly get hot again, and that may start to trigger more thunderstorms as well. All looking quite typical, though, for that part of America. Nothing overly dramatic going on there, except perhaps the heat at the moment, which is quite extreme and has moved out of the, the very, very hot temperatures that we've had across western parts of America with those horrendous fires and whatnot. Temperature anomalies from the 11th to 19th of August. Looking a little bit cooler than average in this southeast corner. That's because there's going to be quite a bit of rain around. Of course, rain will have a overall dampening effect on the temperature. So if you've got a lot of rain, you've got a lot of thunderstorms, you've got torrential rain, then obviously that lowers the temperature. So a little bit cooler there. A little bit cooler down towards Mexico as well, and like southern Arizona. But most parts of the state's actually looking really warm and hot, and particularly again from the Midwest and back into those western states, the hot summer, very, very hot summer of 2011. You know what I'm talking about. Very hot summer of 2021 goes on. I'm 10 years late with that. Precipitation anomalies from the 11th to the 19th of August are pretty dry for most northern, central and western parts of America. See what precipitation is. Tends to be more towards the south, interestingly, and perhaps unusually this time of year. So Arizona, for example, looks very wet, and down in towards Mexico. I think that's quite unusual for there. And then, of course, you've got Florida in this southeastern corner again, looking pretty wet, and that is down to, Tropical Storm Fred, of course, a forecast track of Tropical Storm Fred. But once you go further northwards, there is a lot of dry weather from these western states all the way over towards the northeast, actually. Perhaps some of these eastern states are a little bit more unsettled, though. Right, so let's have a look at the GFS then. So this is how it's looking at the moment. We have got an area of low pressure over Canada that's digging in some cooler air into some of these northern states. Still looks pretty hot out in west. Many of these southern and eastern states under this ridge of high pressure looking quite hot as well. The upper air temperatures look like that. They are very hot, really, from California all the way through Midwest up towards the northeast. Actually, we've got a great swathe of heat through there. As I said, there is like cooler air digging in from Canada into some of these northern states. That will be triggering thunderstorms, of course, as we've seen from the ensemble graph of Chicago. There will be a cool down taking place in the Midwest and the north, but that will trigger thunderstorms initially. Tomorrow, that low pressure will be moved a little bit further eastwards through Canada, and again, that's digging in these cooler temperatures to the Midwest. That's where the thunderstorms are being triggered from, of course, the clash of air masses between the hot air from what's originated initially from the western states clashes with this cooler air from Canada. That will trigger thunderstorms through the Midwest. Otherwise, looking quite hot, really, from these southern and east states, and especially so out in the west yet again. Now, by the time we get through to the weekend, that low pressure is clearing away, so things will start to dry out. We'll see thunderstorms easing off through the Midwest, and the ridge will begin to start getting going across these eastern and northern states, and that will start to bring some hotter temperatures back up. But real heat, again, looks like it's still out in the west and in the southwest too. Into the early part of next week, cooler air is digging into the northwest from Canada, so those northwest states will be starting to feel a little bit cooler, I think, by the early time of next week. At the same time, that is Fred just there. So that's Tropical Storm Fred moving from Florida onto the Gulf Coast by midnight on Monday next week. Doesn't look overly dramatic in terms of wind. It's not really winding itself up into like a hurricane, not like what I have over here, for example, in the Pacific. Nevertheless, it will bring some very wet weather to those southeastern portions of America. This ridge building to the north of it will start to drag up some hotter air back to Midwest and into eastern states, but at the same time, say the northwest is beginning to cool quite a bit. That's how the upper air temperatures look on Monday. So again, it's still very hot from like California moving in towards those midwestern states. Cooler to the Pacific Northwest, just here with the upper air temperatures. And then generally looking very warm or hot across many of the eastern parts of America. Through to the middle of next week, that ridge really strengthening over the eastern side of America, pulling up quite a lot of hot air up the eastern side. At the same time, it's looking a good deal more volatile out to the west, so it will still be hot out in the west, but I reckon there'll be thunderstorms being triggered, especially so in these some of these northern and northwestern states. So that takes us through to the end of next week. So that's still the area of low pressure associated with Fred just there. This time it's like off, by this point it's like off the coast of Southeast America back into the Atlantic again. Of course, at that point it might start to power up as it moves back into the warm waters of the Atlantic Ocean. Rare temperatures by Saturday 21st of August around day 10. Looking like this, cooler out to the far northwest, so relief for those northwestern states. Very hot again from like southwestern parts of America, Arizona, California, going through the Rockies up towards the Midwest, and then over into the east part of America. Still very warm there, but not as hot as it is out through those central and western states. That's the low there, but still Fred, still hanging around off that Atlantic coast on the 23rd of August. Doesn't really want to move a great deal. Of course, if that's on shore, then that could give some really extreme rainfall to those eastern, southeastern coastal areas of America. So I think Fred is one to watch, actually. Initially for the hit on Florida and the southeastern part of America, but then later on maybe becoming stuck somewhere off the Atlantic coast of southeastern and eastern America. At the moment, doesn't look overly severe from a wind perspective, but could bring a lot of rain. Meanwhile, so much of the east is looking very warm. Meanwhile, further west, it is cooling down in these northern and northwestern states with these areas of low pressure around Canada digging in the cooler air to those northern and northwestern states. So look, as we get to the very end of the GFS run, by which time the extreme heat is still going on through these western states and trying to get back up into the northwest again. Most parts of America still looking pretty hot by that point, just a little bit cooler perhaps up in these northeast states. That's a long way out, but that's 2 weeks away. Right, this is how the east area is looking. The Euro looks like that. So again, we've got this cooler air digging in to the far north of America. Tomorrow will trigger thunderstorms through those northern states with a clash of air masses. Otherwise, most parts of America looking pretty hot. We go through into the weekend, and again that low pressure clears away into northwestern parts of Canada, and high pressure will build over it. Initially within cooler and fresher air, but will soon start to heat things back up. But the extreme heat is going to be out in the west once again. That's Monday, and again the position of Fred. So this is going to be midnight setting position of Fred will be just here, not quite as developed as the GFS has it off the coast of Florida. By the time we get through to midnight on Monday, quite difficult to make Fred out, but I think Fred is just there. There are more little areas of low pressure around there, by the way. And a ridge building across these midwestern and eastern states will start to lift temperature back up into next week. That's how the upper air temperature look by Tuesday. So again, very, very hot through these western states. A little bit cooler in the Pacific Northwest, but generally very hot for most of these western states. Over towards the east, beginning to warm up after a cooler period through the weekend in Midwest and the eastern parts of America as well. And then through next week, it's generally quite a hot scene, I think, across many areas. It will turn increasingly thundery with cooler air digging into the north and northwest, however, as we get through to day 10. So I think these northwestern states probably get quite a bit of volatility. Could start seeing some thunderstorms breaking out in the southwestern states as well. Eastern parts of America looking hot, and again, there will be a risk of thunderstorms breaking out through there too. Right, CFSV2 lastly, and then we're done. These are 500 millibar heights, breaking down into week periods. The first week period takes us from the 10th to 16th of August. The coming week has a ridge to the northwest and also to the northeast with a trough of low pressure digging in through these central states. So jet stream will be doing something a little bit like that. Brings cooler air, particularly to the northern and midwestern states, into week 2, which will be the 17th, 23rd of August. Again, the ridge off the northwestern coast, a trough of low pressure in the northwest, actually. We haven't seen that all that much this summer, but there will be a trough in the northwest that will bring cooler weather to the northwest. A ridge over in the east could bring up some hotter air, perhaps up the eastern side through the Midwest. Week 3 is looking like this. It's 24th to 30th of August with a ridge through the eastern parts of America. Probably again a trough through here, I would have thought. And a ridge back there. And then go through to week 4 and we look like that. It's 31st of August, 6th of September. Again, that ridge maintained through those eastern states. Trough low pressure off the northwestern coast. Temperature anomalies for the week ahead, 10th through to the 16th of August. Still looking very hot in these western and northwestern states. Actually cooler through here and then hotter again as we get into the east and the northeast. Things switch around as we go through to the week 2. Temperature anomalies, 17th, 23rd of August. It becomes a lot cooler in these western states. Looking reasonably cool in the southeastern parts of America as well, and very hot in the east and the northeast, or midwest to the northeast, I suppose. Week 3 will be the 24th to the 30th of August, so quite cool through the central and southern states, still pretty hot in the northeast, and perhaps getting a bit hotter again in west and the northwest. And then week 4 is the 31st of August, 6th of September. Most central, east and northeastern states look hot. It is cooler down this western side. Precipitation looks like that. So week 1, 10th, 16th of August is going to be dry and average through the far northern states. Thunderstorms bringing heavy rain above average precipitation through the central and eastern midwestern parts of America. And a little bit wet to the south of Florida as well. Go through to week 2. It's the 17th to the 23rd of August. Generally looking quite wet across most parts of America this week. It is drier in the far northeast and out to the northwest. Otherwise, above average rainfall. Probably quite a lot of thunderstorms. And particularly wet around here. You'll notice that could all be down to Fred, like stalled off that southeastern coast of America. So that could be one to watch. That eastern coast could get very, very wet if Fred becomes stuck there in the just off the Atlantic coast. Week 3 is the 24th to the 30th of August. Still looking pretty wet through the southern states, maybe a little bit drier through the northern states. Notice, interestingly, most parts of like the eastern Gulf down into the Caribbean, into the tropical Atlantic, looking quite dry at that point. So not much sign of more disturbances at that point. And then week 4, though, is the 31st of August, 6th of September. Now we're looking wetter again around Florida, so that might be picking up on something. Otherwise, quite dry, though, in the southeastern parts of the states. Wetter in the northern parts of America. Right, so that's it. So, of course, the initial concern is going to, well, two concerns, really. The initial concern is with the heat and the fires in the west, of course, after this tremendously hot furnace summer. And of course, the other concern could be with Fred. Initial hit on Friday, potentially, and that southeastern part of the Gulf Coast. And then later on next week, we might see Fred becoming stuck somewhere off the Atlantic coast, you know, coast of Carolinas and whatnot. If that happens, it could bring a lot of rain down that eastern coast. So they're the two immediate concerns. But the more widespread concern, of course, is going to be the season, tropical storm Atlantic, hurricane season, cranking up, getting going, getting itself into life. And we wait to see what is the result of that over the next few weeks, of course. We'll be keeping you posted every week with our USA forecast. Right, that's it for this week then. We're back next Wednesday with USA forecast. I'll be back later on with a 10 to 14 day for the UK and for Northern Europe as well. So come back for that then. But for this USA forecast, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.